Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on this April the 1st. Good morning to all you good folks in Brownsville, Tennessee on 1520 AM and 95.3 FM, and, of course, in Jackson on News Talk 101.5, and right here in Memphis, Tennessee on prime time, 9 to 10:30 on AM 790. Dave Gabbert is on the phone with us from.
I guess our brother Darrell, the pun master, can't beat. It's a little under the weather, so I'll be the fool today.
You will be the fool. Gene Smith is under the weather, and he won't be with us this morning, and he normally would be. But Dave is up at Land Between the Lakes camping out, but he's with us, and I know he's excited to talk to this next guest as we kick off today's show. As we roll into our 23rd year on the air. And I don't know why I didn't have him on after his first book, but I'm so glad to have Jimmy Tidmore of Huntsville, Alabama, on with us on his second book and what he calls the Hunt Club Kids, and that is called Hide and Seek, A Boy, His Dog, and Their Hunt. Good morning, Jimmy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, I don't know whether to call you doctor or pastor or just outdoorsman. We'll just call you.
Just call me Jimmy. I tell my friends, just Jimmy is what I want to be.
Okay, well, just Jimmy. That's who you're going to be today on the show.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thanks so much. I know the first book you came out was The Birthday Buck, which I was glad to see that, and then he's come out with a new one called Hide and Seek. So. Tell our listeners the inspiration behind these book series, Jimmy.
Yeah, so I've got a son. He's 9 years old now.
Yes.
But he is a kid that loves to be outside, loves to be out in the woods and doing those sorts of things. And a lot of times kids like that, most of you are probably familiar, they don't like to read so much. They don't want to sit down and read.
Yes.
Well, so, my wife and I, and trying to get my son to read, we find some hunting-type books that he does love reading.
Yes.
And there's a few authors out there who've done a great job with that, and we burned through all those books, and he enjoyed them. And I don't know if it was the last one or not, but got down near the end, and I told my wife, well, what are we going to do now? And she said, I don't know. I said, well, I could write a book like this. And she said, well, you should. And that's kind of how it got going. And it was really just kind of a whim of an idea at first. And what happened was I took him on he started hunting with me when he was about 6.
Okay.
But I bought him a rifle for his 8th birthday. For Christmas right before his 8th birthday, and took him on his first hunt where he was going to try to get a deer. And it was just a crazy story, and I said, I'm going to write a book about that story.
You did. And you did.
And I did.
Yes.
And I did. And so, I knew that you couldn't – if I just wrote a story about my son killing his first deer, that's a story that my family would enjoy and our friends would enjoy.
Yes.
But if I wanted it to be something that others would enjoy, I had to make up a little story about a little nemesis character, and they were in a little competition about who was going to kill their first deer. And then that allowed me to teach – kids some life lessons about friendship, about telling the truth, and so forth. And so that's kind of how they came into existence, I guess.
Well, again, we're talking to Jimmy Tidmore of Huntsville, Alabama. And Jimmy, I understand you are a pastor of a church there in the Huntsville area. What's the name of your church?
Yeah, the name of the church is Montesano, Montesano. There's a state park here called Montesano State Park, and we're right next to it, Montesano Baptist Church. That's where I pastor.
All right. Well, we Baptists can talk together all day long then.
Yes, we could.
I love to get people.
We could eat together, too.
Yes, we could. I'm a man of faith here, a deacon in my church, and things along that line. And your son is named Jet. Is that right?
That's right. So his name is actually James Eli Tidmore.
Oh, so he became Jet then, okay?
So he became Jet. That's right.
I just thought maybe he ran fast or something along that line.
He actually, the name fits very well.
Oh, right.
He is actually a very good little athlete, too.
It's very good. And I know, Jimmy, when you started this, and undoubtedly the first book was a hit. because anybody that does one and say, well, that's it for me, and then all of a sudden here comes hide and seek. And a story about a boy named Wyatt, his dog, and their hunt to prove the existence of a giant white-tailed buck. I'll be 80 in May, Jimmy, and I think, and this is my kind of book too. I mean, let's just don't throw us old folks under the table here. You know, I mean, it's inspiration like that. So the ideas, and Dave, as you're listening to this, and being a grandfather of a 10-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 7-year-old, throwing your ideas, Dave, about a book like this.
Yeah, it's good. You know, that's one of the problems that Jimmy was talking about, getting young people to read.
Yes.
You know, that I always used, you know, back, you think about your school days and stuff, that the stories that they had you reading, you know, as growing up. I didn't want to read Shakespeare. You know? Right. And I read, you know.
Well, this is a fishing pole, you know, Shakespeare.
You know, Fenimore Cooper and stuff like that, or Zane Grey. But, you know, in school they wanted you to read all that Renaissance stuff. Well, I guess it's got its place. But, you know, you want something that will keep you, you know, I like to read, and I don't read as much as I would like to, because when I start a book and it's good, I can't put it down.
Can't put it down. Well, I think you're going to realize this, folks, when you look and say it's got 46 chapters. It's got the kind of chapters I like. They're about 2 pages each. I mean, and that's. Were you a writer, Jimmy? I know you do sermons and you have to write your sermons, but how did this come about as far being able to put this together into words?
You know, what's funny is, back when I was probably in junior high school, I thought I'd like to be a writer one day, but that was just a fleeting idea that came and went. My dad probably told me, you can't make any money writing, or something like that. And so I went into the pastorate so I could get rich, you know.
No, I'm sure you did that. Yeah. I mean,
yes, please hear the sarcasm there.
Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah.
But you know, I tell you what, it is interesting. I do write my sermon manuscripts out every week. I write them. I don't necessarily say them word for word, but I write them out. And one thing that I've realized in hindsight is writing to speak, which is very different than writing to read, but writing to speak actually helped me a lot with these books, because it's a lot of dialogue. Where they're having a conversation. And so I've just had years of writing to be heard. And it really has helped me a lot with regard to, is this how somebody would say it? And I just listen to my kid and the way that he talks to his friends and try to mimic that. So I haven't been a writer. This is my first go at it, but I have been writing for many, many years in my role as a pastor. So
and you've
go ahead.
And you've already got ideas for a turkey book. You've already got me. You're really enthused. I'm waiting for the next one, Jimmy. I think you've created something here that I look forward for more. That's why you came up with the idea. I'm assuming to call this the Hunt Club Kids Book.
That's right. So they have a little club. That they started really at the beginning of the second book.
Yes.
And there's a tree house, and they meet in their tree house and have their little club meetings and so forth. And that'll be a key component in every book.
Well, it's obvious that you've put this passion of the outdoors, and I think Dave mentioned this too, also to get more kids involved.
Yeah. That's right. You know, in addition to, you know, I want kids that love the outdoors to learn to love to read too. But the other motivation is, if we're not recruiting the next generation of hunters and outdoorsmen and women, it won't be around for them in the next generation. It won't be. So I've got that motivation as well, to bring in new kids. And hey, I've heard stories. I know of kids who have started hunting. And so it's so cool to hear that about kids that are getting into hunting and getting rifles of their own for Christmas, and their dads don't even really know what they're doing, and they're trying to find somebody.
That's right. Yeah.
Hopefully, it's achieving that.
So, how did Did you grow up in an outdoors family, Jimmy?
I did not.
That's I'm wondering.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't, and I have had to teach myself almost everything, and so I tell my son, I don't want you to have to learn it all on your own the way that I did. Now, my dad was very supportive. He was just very busy and work and
I'm with that
and so forth.
Mine was the same way. Mine was my dad was a car salesman, but I know that he taught me work ethics and things along that line. But it took an uncle for me. Was there somebody that took you? An
uncle.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
My dad's sister's husband. So
there you go. Yeah.
And he actually is in the first book even. So because that's where my son killed his first deer was with him. Well, so it's pretty cool.
All right, now so we got just a couple of minutes, Jimmy, on this, and again we're talking to Jimmy Tidmore out of Huntsville, Alabama. So how can they get a copy of this book? Where do they go to for information?
Yeah, so they're available on Amazon. You can get both of them there. I also have a website, huntclubkids.com, and both of those you can get the books through that as well. I mean, I'm doing all my sales through Amazon. It's just so easy.
Well,
and I don't have to have an inventory and so forth. So yeah, that's the best way is just go to Amazon and search for them.
Folks, you need to go to that. Go to Amazon, look up the Hunt Club Kids. Go to the website, huntclubkids.com. We'll have all this information on Jimmy's books on LarryRay.com. Jimmy, thank you very much. God bless you, man, for
yes, sir,
for doing this. And I know that Dave is looking forward to picking up. I have already read the first book, okay? And people wonder,
right.
I'm a voracious reader here, but folks, go get a copy. Jimmy, have a great day, buddy. Thank you very much, and we'll stay in touch, okay?
I'd love to, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Be right back.